All right, it looks like the participant count is kind of leveled off, so we'll get started. Good evening, and thank you for joining us for a discussion of the Nobscot Intersection Improvements Project. I'm Bill Sedowitz, the Chief Engineer for the Public Works Department. In a minute, we'll introduce the other members of the project team. Tonight, we'll provide a brief overview of the project for those that either aren't aware or have forgotten. We'll talk about the construction status and also take your questions and comments. So I don't want to steal Matt's thunder, but we are anticipating a pretty successful season this year and to be pretty far along by the fall. So with that, I'll introduce Matt Hayes, who's the Senior Project Manager, for a brief presentation.
Thank you, Bill. Good evening, everyone. As Bill said, I'm Matt Hayes, Senior Project Manager with the Framingham Department of Public Works. And I'd like to welcome you to the City of Framingham's community meeting for the Nobscot Intersection Improvement Project. This presentation is being recorded and will be available on the city's website next week. And right now, I'd like to introduce the project team with the City of Framingham Public Works, our new Director of Public Works, Robert Lewis, Bill Sedowitz, our Chief Engineer, Simon Alexandrovich, the Director of Transportation, me, Matthew Hayes, and Alyssa Jewell, our Communications Project Manager. Also with us tonight is the city's Engineering and Design Consultant, VHB, and Senior Project Manager with VHB is Tracy Lenhart, and Denise Cardaz is a resident engineer with VHB, who's usually out on site on the project. It's a short presentation, and the agenda it includes an overview of the project, a construction update, anticipated impacts and detours, a summary of next steps, and then we will open it up to questions from the audience. This, as you can see, is an aerial view of the project area. The western project limit on Edmonds Road is just west of the Edmonds House Apartments. South on Edgell Road, our project limits are just past Gianni's Pizza and Honeydew Donuts. To the east on Water Street, the project goes to just shy of the McAuliffe Library driveway. And it also goes north on Edgell Road, past the brook, toward the Windsor Green condominiums. The goals of the project are to enhance pedestrian walkability, reduce traffic congestion, increase the safety for all users, vehicles, pedestrians, bicyclists, upgrade the traffic signal system, improve vehicle turning maneuvers, so we don't have this picture on the right any longer, we encourage additional development, and provide street lighting. This is an overlay of the improvements on the previous aerial. This is a high view of the project, so you may not be able to make out too many details. I can go over any of the details if you have further questions. But the project will include new signals, new decorative pedestrian crossings on all four legs, all four approaches to the intersection, fully ADA compliant walks and wheelchair ramps, left turn lanes on all of the approaches, all of the roadway approaches, and wider turning radiuses to accommodate larger vehicles through the intersection. As most of you are probably aware, have driven through the intersection lately. Our contractor, Balthazar Contractors, they resumed work in late March. They are currently in the process of installing underground conduit for street lighting, as well as the handholds and concrete bases for the street lighting. The overhead traffic signals have been installed by their subconsultant. Those have been mostly wired up to the controller cabinet. We're just waiting on some further utility relocations in order to energize that system. So that will be later on this season. Some of the work that had been completed last year, the drainage work had been completed, culvert repairs to the culvert on Edgell Road, installation of the foundations and the mast arms that was actually done over the winter, and the gas main installation by Eversource Gas, that work was completed within our project limits last year. However, Eversource has come back this year to continue to install and upgrade the main along Edmonds Road to the west of our project limits. Some of the project impacts we can expect. Well, first of all, we do anticipate substantial completion of this project late fall of this year, and final paving of the entire project early in 2023, in the spring of 2023. The hours of construction are the same as they have been last year. The crews will be out there Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. The traffic impacts will include some lane shifts or alternating traffic on some lanes during construction. We have been utilizing a detour through the CVS parking lot, through the perimeter road of the parking lot, when it has facilitated work mainly along Edgell Road to the south of the intersection. So we have traffic going through the CVS parking lot and southbound traffic on Edgell Road. The work is anticipated, again, only during daytime hours. This is similar to last year. And all the traffic, and as well as the construction, is being monitored daily by the city. Pedestrian access will be maintained. There will be impacts to sidewalks at certain times. They'll be reconstructed, but sidewalk access will be available usually on the other side of the street. And police details will be on site to facilitate vehicular traffic and pedestrians. Framingham Police have been doing an outstanding job so far on this project. This slide is supposed to show the project detour through the Cvs Plaza. It's not appearing on my screen right now. If you can see it, the traffic is utilizing, again, the perimeter road, the new road that was put in, or the new driveway that was put in, along with the new CVS on the southeast corner of the intersection. So northbound Edgell Road traffic is entering the driveway, exiting on Water Street, and being directed either west to continue on Edgell Road or right to stay on Water Street. The second detour route that we have planned for the project utilizes Gennardi Way, Livoli, and McAdams Road. This will be a two-way detour when work is required on Edmonds Road because of the narrowness of Edmonds Road. When we're working there, especially during the reclaim portion of the project, we will not be able to have even one lane of traffic. So eastbound traffic on Edmonds Road will be detoured south on Gennardi, south on Livoli, then east on McAdams Road to meet up with Edgell Road again. Traffic wanting to go west on Edmonds Road from the intersection will again follow that route in reverse, Edgell to McAdams, Livoli, north on Gennardi. Currently, the gas company is working just east of Gennardi Way, excuse me. And they have been detouring eastbound Edmonds Road traffic south along that detour route. They have been able to work with one lane of westbound traffic going by their work zone. They have police details on site directing traffic down Gennardi Way for that reason. They're also allowing school buses, abutters, and emergency vehicles access through Edmonds Road. When the city utilizes this detour for the Nobscot project, the approximate duration of use of this detour would be about 3 weeks. That's to facilitate work on Edmonds Road, like I said, and perhaps Edgell Road. Again, that would be a daily detour going back to Edmonds Road and Edgell Road to normal traffic at night. There could be a couple of days where the detour is in place for 24 hours due to some grading of the intersection that may not be safe to allow traffic on during that time. But the duration, again, is approximately 3 weeks. So our construction schedule for the remainder of the project, as I said before, the installation of the streetlights and traffic signals is occurring right now. That's expected to be completed in the spring. Final street lighting wouldn't be installed until later in the project. This is mostly the underground work being done now. Pavement reclamation will occur July 18th is our anticipated reclaim date as of today. And reclaiming of the pavement will be done on Edmonds Road and Edgell Road, north and south of the intersection. Water Street will not actually be reclaimed, but just the pavement will be milled off and repaved. Excavation for roadway widening and curb and sidewalk installation will occur later this year. And final paving is anticipated in spring of 2023. Utility relocations, as I mentioned, the Eversource gas is complete within our project area. We are still working with Comcast and Verizon to relocate the aerial cables that they have on the existing utility poles onto the new utility poles that were set for the project. Once Comcast is completed, it's anticipated next week, Verizon will come in, relocate their aerial plant, and once that's removed, the utility poles will be removed. And that completes my presentation for the project. I wanted to turn it back over to Alyssa to go over some of the ways you can contact us, and then we'll go into questions.
Good evening. Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa Jewell, and I'm the Communications Project Manager for the Department of Public Works. Keeping our community informed is very important to our department and is something that we take pride in. During construction season, traffic alerts are issued every Friday on the city website and are sent out through Notify Me. Alerts include anticipated work and traffic impacts for the upcoming week. Tonight's meeting recording and a copy of the PowerPoint presentation will be posted on the Nobscot project page. Matt, can we just go to the next slide, please?
Yes.
Awesome. So we will now move into public participation, and I'm going to start with elected officials first. If we have any elected officials that would like to talk, if you could please raise your digital hand, or if you are calling in by phone, please dial *9. We will start with Councillor Steiner. If you can please unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
All right, well, thank you for having this presentation. And welcome to Mr. Lewis, to the city of Framingham. You've got a great team here that's always been excellent with communication. So glad to have you aboard. I think most of this is review to what we've heard previously, but there is some good progress going on with the plaza construction. I'm wondering if there's been any coordination with the Nobscot Plaza about that project and how it's going to work with the intersection construction.
Yes, so we have contacted the plaza developer, Transom Real Estate. I know they have given a presentation on their project to the neighborhood fairly recently. We will be coordinating further with them, as well as the gas station. Right now, the plaza is they're doing work inside the building for abatement, and they do plan to demolish the building later this spring and move into their project later this summer.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think Peter Spelios, who's the head of Transom, he's also been excellent about communication. So I think just keeping those lines open, just to make sure that our project doesn't mess with his and vice versa would be great. And the other thing I wanted to ask about, and it doesn't sound like there's been any changes, but when we last talked, there was a lot of concern, I think well placed, about the lack of bike friendliness, a dedicated bike lane. I just wanted to confirm there hasn't been a change in that. And has there been any thought about how we can, given what we have now, are there ways that we can make this a more pedestrian and bike friendly intersection? And I'll leave it there and listen to your response. Thank you all.
Thanks for that question. There have not been any additional changes since last season and since final design was completed and bid. We do know that some connections are certainly desirable between some of the facilities outside of our project area. And I think we spoke about possible signage to direct bicyclists to those areas. There will be some pedestrian and vehicular signage as part of this, and cyclist signage, either as part of this project or as a short follow-on to this project.
Okay, thank you. That was a concern just for Mr. Lewis that came up, because I think there was a real hope that this, that this plaza would be more pedestrian and bike friendly. And so, at least with the plaza or the intersection, the plaza project, there's some discussion about the future Bruce Freeman Rail Trail and being able to connect into that. But there was, I think, early designs that had more space for dedicated bike lanes. So unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. So just something to keep in mind as we continue with projects around Framingham. So thank you again, and I'll listen to other questions from folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other elected officials that would like to speak tonight? If so, please raise your digital hand. Don't think I see anyone else. So I will move into other residents and members of the community. First, R.K. Vassar, if you could please unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. My question actually pertains to what's probably outside your work area, and that is traveling west on Edmonds Road, where the gas company's installing line. How do you know how far down Edmonds they're planning on either improving or changing or adding a line? And what the time frame is for their work and how detours will be handled if you can only have one lane of travel?
So Eversource Gas has told us their plan is to install approximately 2,000 feet of additional gas main beyond the project limit. So that would get them west of Gennardi, west of Gennardi. They may utilize the detour on Gennardi Livoli if they need to take up more of Edmonds Road, but right now that's not anticipated. They have been staying in one lane to allow for westbound traffic to continue.
So I guess my question is for eastbound traffic who are coming from west of Gennardi, specifically either Winch or Garvey or Carter Drive. And if there's eastbound travel, but not westbound travel, what the time is that the plan?
So again, they should be allowing westbound travel on Edmonds, but eastbound travel on Edmonds would need to utilize the detour.
But if you can't get to Gennardi,
I'm sorry. I think I understand the question now.
Then no discussion of a detour other than the current detour. So once they get west of Gennardi, they're going to need to facilitate alternating traffic. So there are no other detours that have been discussed at this point. They're looking to go approximately to the far side of Garvey. So that's their proposed scope. The timing really depends. They've run into some ledge and how much of that they encounter really will drive how long they are. But as far as detours, the current detour is the only one that's been discussed and under consideration.
Okay, so we're not going to have to make this complete huge circle to get out of Carter Drive to go somewhere.
No, that has not been requested. That has not been discussed in any way other than the current detour.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, next, Joan and Herb, you can please unmute yourself.
Hi, yes, I'm interested in the detour which takes you east on Edmonds down Livoli Road onto McAdams. And then we have a situation there at the intersection of McAdams and Edgell and Frost Street. And I believe you all know that's a very dangerous intersection. And I would strongly, strongly suggest that we have a police officer there to direct traffic in the morning and in the evening. So is that possible, please?
So we can have that discussion. We meet routinely with police, fire, school transportation, and discuss the active construction projects and whether there needs to be any change in the traffic patterns and the number of police details. We can certainly bring that up at our next meeting, but that has not been identified in our meetings to date as being a particular need. So again, we're happy to revisit it, but we believe that all the stakeholders that participate in those meetings, and that's the forum to discuss any changes that are warranted, and we'll be happy to bring it up at our next meeting.
So just to follow up, I spoke to a police officer who was standing at Gennardi Way, preventing people from going east on Edmonds Road. And according to this officer, he said that there would be an officer down at that intersection that I'm concerned about, which is McAdams, Frost, and Edgell. Now, I don't know if he was incorrect in his understanding or not, but that's what he told me, that there would be an officer down there. And we have not seen anybody.
So we coordinate with the police safety officer or the assistant safety officer. That's our point of contact. the police force is a large force, and you know, on occasion, individual officers might have some other suggestions on how best to manage traffic, but they're supposed to work through their chain of command. And again, happy to revisit that discussion at our next meeting.
Okay.
But that's the process that we coordinate. We don't, you know, you can't have each individual officer deciding how best they want to manage traffic. That works up through the safety division in the police department, and that's who we coordinate with.
Well, I appreciate you, as you said, revisiting that situation as soon as possible. Thank you.
Happy to do it. Thank you.
Okay, next, excuse me. Next is John Siros. You can please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just curious if Eversource is going to continue working up Edmonds. I think someone said past Garvey. Will the repaving be included in that when everything's all said and done, or is it going to be, you know, just that swath of pavement put in? It's just a patchwork that settles and difficult to travel, especially on Edmonds, such a narrow road.
Yeah, the current plan is they would do temporary restoration, and then they, after an appropriate settlement period, they'd come out and mill that out and repave that. Ideally, in the not too distant future, we could do more extensive work on Edmonds Road. Our priority is actually the section further west, closer to the town line, but I don't disagree that it could use some work, but the current gas plan would be just to do restoration on their trenches, both initially and then permanently after a settlement period.
Gotcha.
Okay, next, Rob Anderson. If you can please unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. I had a quick question. I heard mentioned in the presentation that reclamation was going to happen on July 18th. Do we have a projected time frame for the curb and sidewalk install?
So that'll depend on which roads. They'll be doing some of the roads along with the curb installation with the widening. Some of that will be dependent on the removal of the utility poles. But some of it won't. So they'll be doing most of that work this summer and fall.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That's all I had.
Thank you. Do we have any other members of the public that would like to ask any questions? If so, raise your hand. Mr. Hanson, can you please unmute yourself?
All right, am I on the air?
You are.
Okay. First of all, thanks for having this meeting. Everything seems to be going quite well on the project. So big attaboy to the people involved. Just one thing, as a former bicycle and pedestrian advocate, I just want to give you a heads up that what I've seen in projects in the past is when new signals are installed, the pedestrian signals have a low priority, and sometimes it's a matter of weeks, sometimes even months before the pedestrian signals go live. So I think the project supervision should pay attention to that. There's quite a bit of pedestrian traffic there, and I think it'd be important to have the pedestrian signals seamless so that they go live as soon as the new traffic signals. And the other thing I'd like to mention, particularly since Councilor Steiner is listening, I was very disappointed. It wasn't anything that the city is responsible for, except maybe the planning board. There's no bicycle parking at the new CVS. And I saw some plans that were supposed to be some bicycle parking kind of remote from anything and that wouldn't come in until the next phase of the project. So if anyone's from the planning board or Councilman Steiner would is still listening, for future development, I think it should be mandatory that retailers and such install bicycle parking, and that's consistent with the city policy of complete streets. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. And we do anticipate the pedestrian signals to become live when the traffic signal does come up and running. They've all been wired, and the posts and pedestrian heads have all been installed. So we do anticipate all of that coming online at the same time.
Okay, next, Lou Orson. If you can please unmute yourself.
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
My wife and I live in Windsor Green condominiums, the furthest southeast unit right along Edger Road. And there's been a lot of digging of holes for the gas lines and other utilities, and they've been patched over. So there's a lot of uneven pavement along Edger Road, especially southbound from Donovan Drive. And when trucks go over those areas, it's really loud and a lot of banging and things like that. So we have a lot more noise now. My question is, once the new pavement is laid down, will it go all the way to Donovan Road, northbound?
Tracy, I don't think it goes quite that far. It goes past the culvert. It doesn't go to the entrance of Windsor Green.
I think you're right. I think it's just short of that.
So past the culvert, I mean, we're right at the culvert, so it'll go past the culvert?
A little bit past the culvert. I'm pulling up the plans.
Okay.
Hopefully once this project will pave the roadway up to our project limits, and if there are any issues with the gas trench, as Bill said earlier, the gas company is required to mill out and repave their trenches to a suitable condition.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, next, Leslie White Harvey. You can please unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you very much for having the presentation. I'm actually elected official, a vice chair of the Framingham Library of Trustees. I just had a quick question. What do you anticipate for the impact of traffic at the McAuliffe Branch Library, and what do you have in place for that? Thank you.
We don't anticipate any major traffic impacts for the library. Okay. Our project is ending just shy of a little shy of the driveway. Okay. We do have some work going on in front of the library. I had met with the trustees a while back to get their input on a bus shelter that was being, as part of this project, is being installed in front of the library to the west of the driveway entrance. But we don't anticipate any major traffic impacts.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Steiner, you can please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to comment on a couple of things. I think Mr. Hanson mentioned I think it was him, in reference to the CVS and the lack of a bike rack. And I'll definitely follow up again on that issue. There's some other issues with the CVS, including the hours that aren't what was originally pitched. And so I'm hopeful with the new planning director, who we just appointed on Tuesday, or the mayor appointed and the city council approved, that we can make some headway with CVS because they haven't followed through on a few things. But I do think you know, we've got to start putting bike and pedestrian access at the top of the list in terms of transportation around that area. So, and the other thing, you know, I'll be emailing everybody later on or tomorrow, but Mr. Chasen's point about the need for police at McAdams, Frost, and Edgell, 100% needed during rush hour, during that detour. I mean, I live on, in the interest of full disclosure, I live on McAdams, so I'm taking that left turn on a daily basis. And thankfully I leave early enough, it's not quite as bad, but if I'm a little late turning left right now, when, you know, during normal times, it's tough, if not dangerous, because you also have cars coming at you at Frost Street. During that detour, when we have a bunch of extra cars coming through that neighborhood, it's going to be much more dangerous and difficult. So I think in this size project with everything else going on, at least during the detour, during rush hours, to have an officer there just making sure everybody is safe would be a very wise investment. So, but I will follow up on that. Thank you again for everything.
Thank you. Next, Lou Orson. You can please unmute yourself.
Yes, I had my question answered, so I guess you can. I'm trying to put my hand down, I guess.
Well, and I don't want to jump in. I did confirm that the paving just goes just past the culvert, but doesn't make it all the way to Donovan. So it stops just short of Donovan.
Oh, that's good. That'll maybe be by go past our unit anyhow. Thanks. Well, since
not sure if you wanted to keep talking. Lou, if you want to raise your hand again, I can unmute you again. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I was just asking, is the culvert part of the project complete now?
Yes, the repairs to the culvert are complete. There is still work to do in the area, including some of the
Curbing, some guardrail, and yeah, and some seating just to loam and seat it.
And maybe replacing a 30-foot U that was taken out of our landscaping at Windsor Green.
Yes, we did talk about landscaping, getting some larger plants at that corner,
okay,
put in as part of the project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, Steve, you can please unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. I oftentimes ride my bike down Edgell Road and then turn left onto Water Street. And what I'd like to know is, I mean, right now it's a very bumpy ride. It's possibly a little bit dangerous. Do I have to wait until 2023 until that'll be smoothed out?
No, that will, once the reclaiming process is complete, the contractor will put new pavement down to binder course. So it won't be the final top course, but it will be a much smoother pavement surface to ride on.
And what is the time frame on that?
That if we're starting the reclaiming late July, thinking probably sometime early September. Some of the roads may be done before others, but likely early September.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further residents that would like to ask a question?
So we don't have any more questions, Alyssa?
Nope, not at this time.
Okay. Well, appreciate you all coming. Thank you very much for coming out. Again, if you need to, you can contact me. My email is on this slide here, mjh@framingham.ma.gov. There are a number of other ways to contact Framingham DPW also up here. So again, if you have any comments or questions during the project, please feel free to reach out. With that, I think we'll end this Zoom meeting. Thank you all very much. And good night.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Matt.